The leaf gets pretty good.
All right, there we go. Got off. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Give me your eyeballs up here, please. It is primarily. It is primarily a work day today. However, there's some information that I want to get out to you about a variety of things. So listen up, and then you'll have the rest of the class period as work time. So first reminder, I mentioned this on Monday, but I'm going to say it again. If you haven't yet, please consider signing up for a firing time for this Friday. This Friday is the day we're raccoon firing. So I have moved the link to today's folder in Schoology, the Wednesday folder. Choose a time slot that works for you so you can come and be part of the raccoon firing that's happening this Friday. So there's different shifts at different times. Sign up for what works for you. I think only one shift is full at this point. All the others still have spots. You can't help on Friday. It's okay. You're going to be glazing tomorrow. Everybody who's here is going to be glazing a raccoon thing tomorrow. So the glaze has 24 hours to dry. And then if you're not here on Friday, your pieces will get saved to the very end to get raccoon fired. And hopefully they will be able to be part of it. If we run out of time, though, I got to be wrapping it up by like 4 p.m. So then we can start cleaning up. So if you are here, then it's assured that your piece will get into the kiln. So try and be here if you at all can. And again, tomorrow we will glaze. There will not be a Google Meet on Friday because I'm going to be too busy running the firings that are happening outside. I think we're going to have at least 2 kilns outside, maybe 3. It depends on how ambitious I get to load things out there. And so no Google Meet. If you're not here on Friday, you are going to have an assignment, an online assignment that's going to be probably the history of raku and what it is and the science of it and all that, and then you'll answer some questions about it. People who are here will not have to do that assignment because you'll be living the dream and learning about raku firsthand. Okay, any questions about raku? Okay, awesome. Here's this week's schedule for the rest of the week. Today, I'm going to give you some info on finishing your mug project, and then you're going to get work time. Thursday, the mug project is due, so by the end of the hour, so you will get a good chunk of tomorrow's class time to work on that as well. And then raku glazing will be done. People who are at home, if you have brought in a project to raku fire, we'll talk after this Google Meet is done about glazing and how that's going to work for you. Fridays are raku and horsehair firing day. Horsehair is something my advanced students are doing. And then Saturday is prom, just, FYI, it's prom. You know that. Okay, so take a look up on the screen, some finishing ideas. I just wanted to show you a few things that might inspire you as you're finishing your work. If you have made your mug on the wheel, it's going to need a ring foot. You're going to have to carve a foot, trim a foot on the wheel. If you don't remember that process, I'm happy to help. If you didn't make your pot on the wheel, it's kind of your choice whether you add a foot or not. Does it need something to visually lift it? Does it need something to make it look lighter? Does it need something that's just going to make the design really pop, like the Bigfoot foot? I mean, that's pretty funny, right? So it really benefited from adding those little toes to one side of the cup. So if you've hand-built your cup, it's kind of your choice, whether you feel like you need that elevating factor or not. In this case, this person used end goats and painted little animals on their pots, and then they made the feet be these little nubs that stuck down from the pot so that the feet of the animals actually become the feet of the pot. And same thing with these other cups as well. They all have little nubs added at the bottom that elevate and support that pot. Now, if you're not adding anything to the bottom because you've hand-built it, that bottom needs to be incredibly smooth, incredibly neat, and for everybody, it needs your initials on the bottom. Okay, our number we can bypass this time around because you're my only ceramics B class. But you will need your initials on the bottom, and that bottom has to be incredibly smooth and neat. Next thing I want to talk to you about is surface design ideas. I'm just going to show you a few options, and then I'm going to show you some really special things that I haven't shared with any other students this trimester, like specialty decoration techniques you can do. One of the things you probably already know how to do is graffiti. Remember this from Ceramics A, where you paint it on a layer of engobe and then scratch through it like a scratch board? That's one thing you could do to add a really sharp, crisp design on your mug. And remember, the end gobes are in these big buckets here. Same thing we used on the plate project, except used in a different way. You could do carving on the surface of the clay. You could take the round end of a ribbon tool and do some repetitive carving so it kind of has like a tree bark kind of look. You could be more geometric with it and carve things using a ruler as a straight edge. These glazes that we have, the high fire glazes, look really good over texture. So you could consider carving something into the clay using ribbon tool or one of the sharp carving tools. You could add three-dimensional features or slip and melt things that pop out from the surface. Again, our high fire glazes look really good on dimensional surfaces. So making things that pop out is another option for adding a design. You could stamp into the clay. In this cabinet over here, behind Tatiana, are a ton of different things that you could use to stamp. There's tools you can roll, there's ears, there's lace, there's seashells, different things that you could try pressing into the surface if the surface is leather hard. If it's too dry, you could end up pushing right through your wall, and obviously that's not good. But that's an option. You could stamp into the clay. Or, this is a new trick that I haven't shown anybody yet. This is mocha diffusion. And when you see it, you're gonna be like, holy crud, that is awesome. So I'm gonna play you just a little bit of this video. So take a look up at the screen. So you dip the pot before it's fired in slip, that's white slip. And then you take vinegar tinted with pigment, and the acid of the vinegar reacts with the base of the slip, and it creates these little dendrites, these little things that grow out from that surface, like that. So I'm going to show you the materials that I have to do mocha diffusion if you want to try that on your mug. All right, here's the other thing though. So to add a surface design to your cup is optional. It's not a thing that I'm requiring of you. But if you're not going to have a surface design that you add to your pot, those surfaces, those walls need to be incredibly smooth. Outside, inside, lip, handle, everything incredibly smooth. And then one of the options that you could do after it's fired is bubble glazing. So I'm going to play you this little video because I can't show you this today because I don't have a fired pot ready to show. But this video does a pretty good job of it. So you need glaze and hands, essentially. And I have all those things for you. So this is a glazing technique. It would be done after the piece was bisque fired. So that's a thing that we can do after the pieces have been bisque fired, if you choose to bisque fire your mug project. And people at home, you can do these techniques if you want to bring your piece in some afternoon after class is ended for the day, after lunch. You can bring your stuff in and you can try these too with the stuff I have here at school. So I am going to call you over to show you the mocha diffusion in person in just a little bit, but these are your tasks for today. This is what I'm going to leave up on the screen. So your first task is to finish constructing if you're slab building, or to finish throwing, although if you haven't made your pot, I don't know that I would start on the wheel today. If you're just starting today, I would probably slab build. It's quicker at this point. But when you have finished constructing the body of your mug, make sure it's really smooth. Do that scraping and shaping with a steel scrape or a plastic card. I'll mention that in the demo. Figure out your foot, trim it if it's a wheel thrown thing. Consider adding a foot if it's a hand-built thing. Pull your handle using the technique I showed you yesterday. People who are here in person, make sure you use the special clay. It's for handle pulling. Let it get leather hard in the arch position. Cut it and slip and score it around your to the body of your mug. This is one thing that folks may still need to change. You folks who are in person and you at home. When I graded your pictures yesterday of your in process of that handle on the mug, I saw a lot of handles that looked like they had just been scored and slipped. But one of the really important components of that handle is you need to wrap a tiny coil around the two connection points and meld it. I should see that your handle gets wider as it approaches the body of your mug. That's what's going to give you that strength that you want. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, is that handle is not only scored and slipped, but that extra coil of clay is melded both on the top of the handle and the bottom of the handle. Once the handle is on there and everything is really, really smooth, consider your surface design options. I showed you a bunch of options. You can sgraffito, you can carve, you can stamp, you can make things pop out. You can try mocha diffusion, which I'm going to show you. Or if you just want to leave it blank, like maybe you want to try bubbling, then you want to just leave your surface blank. Great. Just make it really, really, really smooth and make sure your initials are on the bottom, and then just bag it for one more day after snapping your progress picture. Okay. So the process for today, nothing is too revolutionary. It's kind of the track you already knew you were on. So come gather around table 9. I'm going to show you how to do mocha diffusion. Just if you're curious about it, come on over. It won't take very long. People who are at home, I'm going to bring you over too. So we're going to, oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. We're going to go back to here. Gather around table 9, full. And Tatiana or Tatum, can one of you turn on all the lights, please? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And pin myself right there. Okay. So first of all, these are the 2 mugs that you've seen me working on throughout last week and this week. This was my wheel thrown mug that I trimmed. Remember, that's a ring foot, and if you made your pot on the wheel, you will have to trim it just to thin it out a little bit, and also to give it that nice little raised ring on the bottom. And then I decided I did want to add a design to this, so I added little 3-dimensional ladybugs that are crawling all over it, and then I carved some leaves. So people at home, that was the design I decided to do on here. Again, adding a design, kind of up to you. It's kind of your choice. Kim, can you put your phone away, please? Yeah, thank you. And so, so this has a little bit of smoothing that I need to do around my designs yet. I'll probably recarve the leaves because there's some boogers, some spurs around there. And I need my initials and hour number on it yet. So I'm not done with that. I'm just going to set it aside for now. This is the one that I'm going to mocha diffuse because it's pretty smooth on the sides. So this is the one that I'm going to do that process with. I tried to do all the scraping and shaping I could to really make that shape really nice and round. As I look at the lip of it, I see that it's a little taller on one side than the other. So I'm just going to do a little scrape or two to level that out and really make sure that that lip is neat. Your lip is a really important part of your pot. It's kind of the focal point when we look at work. We look down on it when it's usually sitting on a table. And that lip is then the first thing that we see. So make sure your lip is not only level, but consistent thickness. Make sure that it is smooth. And then also make sure you smooth the inside. Take a paintbrush, get it wet, and do the smoothing as best you can down at the bottom of that pot with a paintbrush as well. I'm going to be really picky on neatness with this project because there's not a lot of elaborate stuff that you have to do on this pot. And so it better be as neat and as smooth as you can possibly get it. Okay, so I did all my smoothing. I actually did that earlier in the day so that it could dry out a little bit, because for mocha diffusion, you kind of want it to be almost bone dry, like dry leather hard. So I'm just trying to rub some of that water I just added into the clay to dry it out a little bit. And then I'm going to get my mocha diffusion supplies out. So this is my bucket of slip. There's not a lot of it left, but luckily most of us have projects that are not too tall. My project, you're going to dip your project in here. And when I dip my thing in here, it's probably only going to coat to about here, but that's okay. That'll be enough. Then I have two different colors of the tinted vinegar. I have black and I have green, which were actually the two colors that were in the video. So I'm going to make sure that the slip is stirred up first. So there's a whisk in here. I'm going to stir it up. And then I'm going to take my pot. I'm going to hang on to the bottom part of it. And I'm just going to do one quick dip. Got a little crusty hanging on there. So now here's the trick. Okay, I'm going to leave it upside down like this. I need to wait for that slip to just barely start to skim over and not become shiny. And that's when I'm going to start adding the drips of color. So do you want to see black or green? Black? Okay. So I just made the black, so actually this will be a good chance for me to test it. So I'm going to use the dropper, and these are glass, by the way, so do be a little bit careful with them. And so the slip is really only going to diffuse, or the color is only going to diffuse on the slipped area. So I'm going to let gravity do its work here. And it's going to bring the little mocha areas up toward the lip of my pot. I'm doing some big, some small, trying to create a little variety. I realize that from far away, you probably aren't able to see the design super well. Okay, I'm going to pick it up so the people at home can see that. And then those of you who are here, see that a little bit. I'm just going to let that dry now before I flip it right side up, because I don't want this to drip down into this blank spot. And then once this is dry enough for me to touch, then I can dip the other half in there and I can mocha diffuse the bottom half. Or maybe I just like the look of the design being on the upper half and I'll just leave it like this. That's fine too. So I'm just going to set this, put it on my tray here, clean tray, and just let that firm up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to leave the mocha diffusion stuff over here if anyone wants to try it, but your clay does have to be dry leather hard before you can do it, because you kind of have to handle it pretty firmly. So if your clay is really soft, you could end up denting it if it's not the right stage. So dry leather hard is what you're going for. If you get to the point where you're 100% done today, you feel like you've done everything you need to do, it's super smooth, it's super neat, you got a pulled handle, it's melted and everything, and your initials are on the bottom, still keep it bagged for one more day. I just want to ensure that things stay workable in case you need to change anything for tomorrow. Okay? And I'll have the assignment for recording the video tomorrow in class. People who are in person, any questions you have for me? Okay, great. I'm going to check in with the folks who are at home then. You guys who are in person can get to work. Hi. Hey, Maya. Wait, you all? All right. Let's stop recording.